11th, 2025, giving you the updated market report. So let's start with what we love to talk about most here, the bond market. We always look at bonds, and right now the bond market is not looking very good. There was a report that came out today, the PPI report. As you guys know, I always talk about inflation and employment, and this PPI report is usually a reliable indicator of where the market's going to move. Well, today the PPI report came out and it showed that inflation was actually getting a lot better. Normally, that would mean that rates would get better, the bond market would be positive, but as soon as that report came out, it was like the market said, I don't care. And the reason why that is because there's so much else going on right now besides inflation, from the tariffs to what's going on with China to there's a billion other factors going on right now. But there's a hidden determinant right now on the market and nobody can put their finger on it. But here's what I think could be going on. Right now, we have what I call the WTF Trump China factor. Right now, our market is hesitant and fearful of what they believe China could be doing to our market without actually knowing what China's doing. Let me explain that a little bit more. So China owns a ton of our debt. When China sells goods, they make a profit. China takes that money, they invest it right back into our market sometimes. Those investments are basically buying our debt. And China makes a ton of money on this, more money than they could make anywhere else in any other market. If China were to sell that debt and cause a massive sell-off on the bond market, what would happen is the market would lose value and it would essentially tank, kind of like what we're seeing right now in the last 4 or 5 days. That is a theory floating around right now. Many are saying, no way. No way would China do that, because even if China is not happy with us right now, if they did that, where would they put that money? I mean, you may not like Trump, you may not like the United States, but if you have billions of dollars, you're not just going to throw them away just to win the battle, or are you? And that's the question. And I think that, or are you speculation, is actually putting a shadow on these actual figures of inflation. Like I said, normally inflation would move the market positively, but because of this hidden factor going on, this hidden fear, this world dynamic, it's making the market be very unpredictable. Which brings me to my next point. Wherever you are right now, whatever headline you're reading, be cautious. Don't overreact. If you hear a headline and you hear the words tanked, or market, or stock market, or Dow Jones, or S&P, or 10-year treasury, or whatever, and if you hear movement, massive movement, it's probably temporary. Don't get caught up in micro analyzing the day-to-day headlines. I am guilty myself of publishing this stuff. Whenever we get a bond market movement or a treasury dump or something happens in the market, I post it. I like to have my clients aware, and I do that because if I know what's going on in the market, if I can get a pulse on where the treasury is going, I can grab a good rate for my clients. And I pride myself on that, but it's not a perfect science. You as a consumer or as a buyer or even as a real estate agent, don't get hung up on the headlines, because they're going to change. You would not believe the amount of lateral movement and up and down movement we've had in the last 6 days. It's unprecedented. I don't know that we've ever had this much movement in this short of time. If you want to talk more about those charts or get some visuals, reach out. We'll give them to you. Now, next topic, because we brought up realtors, let's talk about real estate. I talk with several top producing real estate agents all across Colorado, specifically Northern Colorado. And in the last 24 hours, I have spoken with 3 who all seem to kind of echo the same sentiment. And that is, there are new homes coming to market, and a lot of them. What does that mean? Why are people starting to list their homes? We could debate that all day long, but at the end of the day, the real question for my buyers are, what are you going to do now, right? You have more options to choose from. And that is a good thing because that gives you a little bit more power. If you are a seller and you are trying to sell your home and you know that more homes are coming to market, what does that mean for you? It probably means that you should think a little bit more, or maybe open up negotiation a little bit and be willing to negotiate, because those buyers that come to you are going to have other options that look just like yours, and you may miss out on opportunity. And that is something to keep in mind. So a lot of echoing out there of a lot of new homes coming to market. I don't know exactly why, but it looks like that could be a little bit of a change of pace here. And when you consider the fact that rates are still high, in which case it would be, the buyers sort of had the power to say, hey, rates are high, give me some seller concessions. Well, now if you have more homes and high rates, what does that mean for the market? Well, talk to a real estate agent about that. I'm not a realtor, obviously, but I would say that is a very interesting dynamic to consider. So that's it for today. I'm Tim Rhey, True Rate Mortgage Group, and I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk with you. And if you want a very competitive rate quote, give me a call. Or if you just want to talk about the market, I'm here to help. If you are a realtor or a buyer, reach out today. Happy to help.